Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm editing this video of our labor and delivery story, but I didn't film like an intro really, so I just wanted to come on here, and Zarai also wanted to say hello and welcome to her coming into the world. Our little story, we don't have any like actual footage of me giving birth because it all happened really fast, but if you guys have any questions about it or like the natural methods I used the entire time I was pregnant or just for the labor, just let me know in the comments below, and hope you like our video. Yeah, say thank you. So if those of you who don't know, I took a Bradley, me and Darian took a Bradley course. It was 12 weeks and it was for giving birth naturally, like with unmedicated, and it just educated us on like the birthing process and gave us all the tools we needed to decide whether we were going to do a home birth, hospital birth, or birth center. I would definitely recommend that class for first-time moms, 100% first-time moms, first-time dads, because I know Darian really loved that class. Like, it helped him so much that, you know, all that nervousness and all that first-time parent jitters kind of went out the window. Like, once we were there, once we were in the moment, he knew exactly what to do, and he was well prepared for everything and anything. So with that said, I think it was the next day. So I gave birth at 7 p.m. The next day, I think, while Darian was sleeping and the baby was sleeping, I just like went into my notes and I wrote like every single detail down. And so I have that in my phone, and I'll just kind of go over it. I'm not gonna read it. It's like super long, so I'm not gonna read it. I'm kind of gonna give you just like I'm just gonna use it for like points, like, you know, to stay organized, stay on track. And then but it had like all the details that I need. So if you have any questions, just comment below, or if you want, I'm gonna leave the Bradley class link that we took. The doula's name was Leah. She's awesome. You can find her on Instagram. I'll link all that below in the description. My contractions started at like 4:30. So me and Darian, or I woke up at around like 4 o'clock, and it was the most random thing ever, because our smoke detectors went off at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the reason that's weird is because obviously nobody's cooking, and we live in an apartment complex, so sometimes they do like drills or whatever, but it didn't like keep going. Like it kind of like just woke me up, and like maybe like went off, like it did like 2, maybe 3, like, and then it was off. So like I woke up to that at 4, and I was just like, that's so random. Like sometimes that does happen, but never for that short amount of time. Like it's always like, you know, it'll go on for like an hour, like where they randomly test, and it's so annoying, but I can sleep through it. But I don't know, I woke up and I just remember being like, that's so weird. Oh, the date was December 30th, 4 a.m. So at 4 a.m. the smoke detectors went off, and I just like, I obviously woke up Darian. He can sleep through anything, so I like woke him up, and like we just, because I thought like they were going off, but then they stopped so fast. So like he went back to sleep and I went back to sleep, but I was kind of still in that like daze of like, I'm kind of awake. But I just remember thinking like, that's so random. Like I wonder why that happened. And then my contraction started at 4:30. So I was just like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm very like spiritual, I guess. So for me, I felt like that was my grandmother, who had just passed away some months before I found out I was pregnant. I felt like that was her like being like, hey, it's almost time, or get ready, you know. But whatever, I don't know, that's just me. So my contraction started at 4:30. I kind of just laid there. I laid in bed. I didn't get up. I think I got up to pee at one point. I didn't bother like timing my contractions, because that's one of the things that the Bradley cast teaches you, is just going with the flow, you know? Like you don't want to tense up, you don't want to get too excited right away, because that actually slows down. That releases, like, I'm not going to go into the science of it, but that like releases a chemical in your body, and that chemical like slows the labor. Like, you know, you don't want to get too excited. You just want to act like everything's normal, you're fine. Yeah, you're going into labor. Yeah, you're gonna meet a baby, your baby that you've been waiting for 9 months, but like just go with it. Like just stay calm, stay mellow, stay cool, you know, don't worry about it. So that's kind of what I did. I knew I was in labor. My water didn't break or anything. I think the day before, like the 2 days prior, like I had like a bloody show and that good stuff, but it wasn't crazy. It was literally like spotting. It was nothing. It was just a little bit more mucusy. Sorry for the information, but if you're watching a labor and delivery video, you should already know these terms or be prepared to hear grossness. So where was I? Okay, so the day before I had like a bloody show or whatever. I didn't like take a picture of it or anything, so I'm not gonna insert that anywhere. But so I was kind of like, you know, but in the Bradley class you kind of learn like the bloody show can come like 2 weeks before. So I wasn't like, I was excited that I had it, but I wasn't like, oh my god, it's about to be time. So yeah, so I didn't want to time anything. Like I didn't want to, and honestly timing doesn't, like, it doesn't do anything for us. The timing is really for the doctors. They want to know how close, just to guesstimate when you are gonna have your baby, but it really doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't, like, you, if as long as you're listening to your body, you're fine. Like just listen to your body. That's like, if you take anything from this video, let one of them be, just trust your body. Like your body knows what it's doing. Your body knows what you can handle. Like just listen to your body 100%. So I just stayed in bed. I think I stayed in bed. I started texting my mom, my mother-in-law, and my sister, and I just told them, you know, pretty sure I'm having contractions. So my mom and my sister were super excited. My mother-in-law, she was kind of like, okay, are you going to the hospital? Like what the fuck? Like what are you doing? Why are you just laying in bed? What's going on? What are we doing? But I was just like, no, because my plan was to just labor. I wanted to stay at home as long as possible. I don't like hospitals. I don't like being poked and pried, and I get irritated very easily, so I wasn't trying to deal. My whole plan from the beginning was to like stay at home as long as possible. So my bags were already packed. Darian's bags was already packed, the baby's bags, everything was already packed. I think I nudged Darian at one point and I told him like, oh, I think I'm having contractions, and he was just like, oh, okay, like, okay. Like he was calm. Like he was the best, ideal. At 7 o'clock I got up, I took a shower. My contractions were chill, like that I felt them obviously, and I know a lot of people say period cramps, but the way I describe, I have a cousin who gave birth maybe like a month and a half after me, and I remember her asking me like, okay, how does it feel, how did you know? And I was like, you're gonna know. Like I mean, I guess the closest thing you can compare them to is period cramps, but you definitely can tell the difference. You know, this is something that I've never felt before. You know when you're in labor, you know when those contractions are starting. Listen to your body, you know. And I guarantee you're just gonna know. She even texted me when she went into labor like, oh yeah, you were right. Like I totally knew what was happening and it was about to go down. So I stayed in bed until 7, and once I got up I took a shower and I just started cleaning my house. Like I just cleaned everything. I mean, my house was already cleaned, but I got some water. I made sure my water bottle was filled up, Darian was cleaning. He was leaving me alone. He was perfect. He was just doing his own thing. He wasn't bothering me. He wasn't asking me if I was okay. Like, he was cool. Like, we were just going about our day. I think I cleaned some walls that day. I just was putting like the finishing touches on everything. I started a pot roast, which was delicious. We came home from the hospital to pot roast sandwiches. It was bomb. So I started a pot roast and I was just like hanging out. So it says here that I was too excited to feel any pain. Like, my contractions were there, but it was early labor. So in early labor, like, a lot of signs for early labor are you're excited, you're talking a lot, you're kind of like, you're just excited, right? So I know earlier I said like that kind of messes with it, but if you're concentrating on it, you don't want to concentrate on the fact that you're in labor. You don't want to like time or pay attention to your phone and be like, okay, that was like a minute long, or that was, my contractions are 7 minutes apart. Like, you don't want to pay attention to that kind of stuff. You just want to, I was just excited that I was gonna meet my baby and that we were gonna be like it was game time. Like, we were in it, we were in the home stretch, she was coming. Okay, so I have here that my contractions were such a breeze because I was so excited for every one of them, because every one of your contractions, every one of my contractions meant that I was that much closer to meeting Zariah. So I was excited. I was like, boom, bring it on. So like I said, I was cleaning, I was squatting, I was dancing, there was music playing. What else? I did laundry, and like, I was in a apartment complex, so my laundry room was not in my apartment, so I had to go out. I was out doing laundry, having contractions, and it was a Sunday, so on Sundays we did laundry and we cleaned up for the week. So that's what I did. And at 1:15 I had more bloody show, and I guess like my mucus plug started coming out, but it wasn't like excessive. It wasn't like this big thing. Like, it wasn't massive like in the movies or anything like that. And that was at around 1:50. I was still laughing at Darian's jokes, and I think around this time is when like it's not that I couldn't talk through them, but I would kind of pause. So like, I was doing the dishes or something, and I remember like squatting down on the counter, like squatting down from the counter with my hands up like this on the counter, holding the counter, and then squatting down. And I was kind of just swaying. They weren't intense at that point at all, but I was just trying to like get in the zone when a contraction would happen. And then once it was done, I was up, I was continuing to do what I had to do. I just was doing a lot of squats any chance I get. So when things got serious, it was around 4:30. So if you guys haven't noticed, this labor, happens really fast, all within a day. I don't know how many hours, but from like 4 a.m. I gave birth. From 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. She was born at 7 p.m. on the dot. So like, that was just in one day. For my first baby, like, I think I prepared myself and Darian very well. Like, we were in it. I was doing squats the entire time. I was squatting at Target, I was squatting at work, I was squatting anywhere and everywhere, because I just felt like, I wanted to get this baby out. Things got serious around 4:30. And that's when I stopped cleaning. I stopped doing business as usual. We went and we set the vibe in the room. We dimmed the lights in the bedroom, and that's when I had to get on the bed. And that's when I had to like get serious and kind of like focus on just being very like into my body and listening and very closely. So we had some meditation music going. The lights were down. I had essential oils going. I was actually on all fours on my bed, just swaying, and the contractions were definitely more intense. I could not talk through them. I couldn't, I was using the in-between time to take breaks. Like, so like your contractions are like this, so like they're like a hill, right? So like as they're coming, you're like concentrating, and then when they peak, you're like you have to be very focused. You're giving yourself pep talks, affirmations, like you're getting yourself through it. Just ride that wave. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, just ride that wave. Don't tense up. Like, just try to stay as relaxed as possible. And obviously that's way more easier said than done, but it's possible. And then once the contraction ended, I was preparing for the next one. I was like using that break. I was like, okay, I wasn't talking, I wasn't doing any of that. My text messages to like my mom and my sister got shorter. I think like I ended up sending my mom, there's actually a message, and I'll put it somewhere right here, where my mom was like, oh shit, yeah, and you know it's serious, because I think I just like replied one word. They were asking me questions all day, and I was like into like texting them, being all excited, and then I got to like one worded answer, and they knew like it was close. So I don't think I put the time for this, but they started getting serious at 4:30, and I think around like 6 o'clock. So I'm gonna skip just because it's not really, I was just kind of like, for 2 hours I was kind of just like staying focused, trying to concentrate. My favorite position to be in when a contraction came wasn't sitting down. I could not sit down. There was no way I was sitting down. Like, that's where I felt the pain the most. My most comfortable was leaning over something, like leaning over the bed, or leaning over like the side of the bed. Or at one point I stood straight up and I felt like I had to push, and I was like, fuck. Like, because if you feel like you have to push, that baby is coming really soon. So my thought was like, fuck, I waited too long, I stayed at home too long, oh my god, like, okay, we need to go. But I didn't want to tell Darian that I felt like I had to push, because I didn't want him to freak out. So I was just like, okay, I'm ready to go, I'm gonna take a shower. You have to take a shower, okay? You just have to. I know the hospital sees shit. And in the shower I had 2 contractions. They both were like, I need to go, like I need to go now. So once I got out of the shower, Darian had the car in the front of our building instead of me walking to the back of the parking structure. And I just remember walking to that car was like the worst. I remember stopping at like the back of the car just to like catch my breath, or like a contraction was coming, and I was just like, fuck. But like, I mean, we were really close to the hospital. The hospital was like less than 10 minutes away. I think it was like 8 minutes or 9 minutes away. So we were really close to the hospital, which was good. I don't even think that I had Darian like walk in with me. I just got out of the car and I told him to go park, and I like went and checked myself in. So I get to the front and I'm like, okay, I'm in labor. I already did my pre-registration and all that, so I didn't have to do any paperwork. I recommend please go to your hospital tour and get the pre-registration paperwork and turn it in, because that's going to save you so much time. Because when you're in labor and when you're in that pain, you are not going to want to sit there and fill out your name 10,000 times. I literally have to do one signature, and that's just that that disclaimer that they give you at any time you come to the hospital. Like, they give you that. That was the only thing. And I don't even think I wrote my name. I think I just wrote like a line, because I was like not trying to do no paperwork. Another huge tip: have a birth plan. Have a birth plan. And I had a birth plan, and then I also had this amazing thing, which was something that our doula gave us in our Bradley class. It was a list of questions that every single nurse that you come by in the hospital when you're in labor are gonna ask you. They don't care if you just told the nurse 5 minutes prior to the new nurse walking in. They're gonna ask you these same exact questions, and they're expecting you to answer. So I had that list of questions. I think our doula said she had asked like 10 delivery nurses, labor and delivery nurses, what are the common questions. And so she just wrote, like, she just had a list. And so she emailed that to us. And what I did, it was questions like how far apart of your contractions, and like, so obviously I wasn't timing them, so I just put I'm not timing them. When was your last bowel movement? Questions like that. And they literally, every single nurse that came in asked me those same questions. And let me tell you, I had all those answers ready. I had all the answers. When was your last OB? But I had multiple copies of those papers, and I had typed out, you know, the answers prior to, and left the ones that weren't, that I possibly, there's no way that I could answer those until the day of. I left those blank, and Darian filled those out. So every time a nurse came in and asked me a question, I was not worried about that. I just gave them one of the copies, and they just were like, that was it. Like, they didn't bug me. They didn't, they just took it and was just like, okay. I also had my birth plan, and I had multiple copies of my birth plan. Darian had a copy, I had a copy, my OB had a copy, which my OB wasn't even there that day. It was just some random doctor that was on call that night. So be prepared for that. Your OB is 99% of the time not going to be the one that delivers your baby, and that's just the way it goes. But that's okay. Like, as long as you're prepared, be prepared to just like have nothing go as planned, but just be prepared that for if it does, and have a plan B, plan C, plan D. Like, because on my birth plan, natural birth, blah blah blah, everything I wanted. And then on the back was, you know, in case of an emergency and I did need a C-section, I had a birth plan for what I wanted for my C-section. So you want to be prepared. That, and a Bradley class will do that. I can't say that enough. They're gonna tell you things that you're not even gonna think about when you're pregnant, like, or think that that has anything to do with having a baby. If I didn't say, we got to the hospital at 6 o'clock. So, and earlier in the video I said I gave birth at 7 o'clock, so everything happened super fast, but we were prepared for that. I had my birth plan, like I said, and I had like the list of questions. So let me just like tell you about these nurses, okay? My delivery nurse was amazing, but my triage nurse, she was having like a bad day or something. So once I got into a room, I have to watch her. She's crawling now, and she's getting
it's nothing.
Okay, so my triage nurse. So once I like scribbled my name on the paper, a triage nurse came to get me, and she was just moving too slow for me. I felt like I had to push at home. So when I get there and my triage nurse, like, I meet her, I tell her like, okay, I felt like I had to push already. And her response to me was, why would you do that? Like, what? I'm in labor. Like, I'm supposed to push this baby out. I'm just letting you know that I had an urge to push. So me being a first-time mom, it's really, I mean, it's not 100% her fault, but me just being a first-time mom, they're expecting me to labor for probably days, right? Or at least some hours, not 4:30 to 7 o'clock. That's like the last thing that they're expecting, which honestly is not intelligent, just because you never know. With all women are different, all labor, all births are different. So for them to like just assume that I'm just being dramatic because I'm a first-time mom and I'm talking about I have to push already, like, and I mean, she kind of put her own self in this predicament, because she actually told me, why would you, after she said like, why would you do that or whatever, she was like, well, get dressed, let me monitor your contractions. I told her, she wanted me to sit on the bed, so I can't sit on the bed. Like I said, the contractions hurt way more when I'm sitting down. So I'm like, is there, and I know from my Bradley cast that they can monitor the baby, they can check your contractions, all that, you don't have to be sitting in a bed. They have the means to do it in any position that makes you feel comfortable. So with me knowing that, I asked her, can you check them while I'm standing up or something? And she didn't want to. So, hi, what are you doing? You being crazy? Yeah. She like didn't want to, and so like I wasn't gonna fight her on it. I'm in no position to fight anyone while I'm trying to like focus on my labor. So I just was like, whatever, I'm gonna get dressed, and I'm gonna try to like, you know, let this lady check my contractions as I sit down. So let me have a contraction and then I'll jump in the bed and she'll check me, and then she'll check a contraction and then I can get out the bed, right? That was my like mindset. So I'm like, okay, whatever, Ariel, just suck it up, you can do it. So I'm like, okay, can you wait till after this contraction? She's like, yeah, I'll wait till your contraction's over and then you can get in the bed. So that happened. I got in the bed and she is putting on her gloves in slow motion. Like she's doing everything in slow motion. I'm sitting, so mind you, I get there at 6. I told you I gave birth at 7 o'clock, so that means my contractions are very close. I don't know how close they are, again, because I'm not timing them. I'm not worried about that, but they have to be close, right? So I'm like, while this lady's putting, like, she's taking her sweet time putting on her gloves. She doesn't even have like the monitor around me or anything. So I'm just sitting in the bed and I'm like, okay. I mean, she probably has like 6 seconds. Then another contraction comes and I get off the bed because I'm not gonna sit there. It was so painful to sit down. It was so uncomfortable to sit down. I wasn't being difficult, you guys, I promise. But I just wasn't gonna sit down. So I hop back up out of the bed. I have my contraction. She kind of like rolls her eyes, but I don't care. I'm not like paying attention to it. And then she's like, okay, well, I need you to sit in the bed so I can monitor the contractions. And I asked her again, can you do it while I'm standing up? Mind you, at this point, Darian is like moving the car, and which is fine because I'm still in triage. Like when Darian comes in the room, it was just a sigh of relief because he knew the birth plan, he knew what I wanted, and I didn't have to speak anymore. Like he can take over and I can just focus on having our baby, right? So when Darian came in, I don't know if I told him or he witnessed like what was going on. I'm not sure, but he just got in and he was like, you're gonna have to take her you're gonna have to monitor her contractions while she's standing up because she already told you that she can't sit down. So she did. I stood over the bed and she just had the monitor on my stomach. She was holding it, and that's how she monitored my contractions. So then she got that information, whatever information that she needed, and then the next thing was that she needed to check how dilated I was. So me staying at home as long as I did, I'm guesstimating that I'm like maybe 7-8 centimeters, right? That's my ideal expectation at this point, right? So obviously when they check you, you have to lie down on the bed. So I had to wait. Hi. Ow, that's my hair. That's my hair. Ow. So I had to wait for a contraction and then I lay down. But before I lay down, I asked her like, okay, once this contraction is over, can you please be ready to check me? Like, so like just be ready. So I wanted her to be ready so that way, like, as soon as my contraction was over, I get in the bed, she stuck her fingers in there, she'd measured, and then I can get up so I can have my next contraction, right? And that time she did it because I figured at that point she knew I wasn't playing. Like I was jumping out of that bed with her fingers in me or not. So she went ahead and did that, and when I tell you this lady's whole face changed when she checked me. She was like, you're oh my god, you're 10 centimeters. And I was like, hello, I told you. I felt the urge to push. Like, but it's not all her fault because they expect first-time moms to come in super early, you know, not really, since this is their first baby, they're not really aware of what's going on. So as soon as they have their first contraction or something, they're going to the hospital. But that wasn't me because I took a private class. So she opened the door to the room that we were in, and she yelled across to the nurses station, and she was like, she's fully dilated. And I was just like, I didn't care what the fuck was going on with her. I was so freaking proud of myself. I was so excited. I was so happy. I was like, hell yeah. Like, I fucking just like labored at home. I could have fucking gave birth at home. Like, I mean, you know, not for the second baby maybe, but not for the first one. But I was just so excited. I was like, dang, I expected like 7 or 8 centimeters, you know, but 10 centimeters fully dilated. We're ready to go. So my delivery nurse came, and it was the funniest story. My delivery nurse came, and she was so freaking cool. I was so happy that my delivery nurse was cool. Like, all of the nurses in there were amazing. After the triage nurse, like, I didn't have any other issues with anyone there. So my delivery nurse came, and she had a wheelchair with her. Again, I do not want to sit down. So she's like, okay, I have to wheel you to the delivery room. And I was like, oh, I can walk. And she was like, no, I'm sorry, it's hospital policy that we have to wheel you. So I'm like, okay, it's really uncomfortable for me to like sit down and have a contraction. So how far is the delivery room? And she was like, oh, it's not far, it's right around the corner, I'll be fast. So I let a contraction go, I sit down, and she's fast, like she gets me there, right? But I feel one coming as I see the delivery room doors. And so like before she even stops the wheelchair, like I stood up and I like start walking into the room, and she's like, wait, I have to like, I think she had to like put the brakes on or something. She was like, you can't do that, you have to be careful. But I was just like, I'm not freaking sitting down during extraction. Like, it was not happening. So I got into the delivery room, and my birth plan is very I think I have it actually, just so you guys can understand the seriousness of my birth plan. And if you guys have any questions on like why I picked the things that I picked in my birth plan, just let me know, and I can actually go into it with you guys if there's nothing you understand. But really quick, okay, so at the top I birth preferences, not a birth plan, because you shouldn't plan something because it's a birth. The lights, oh my god, the sun is setting, so my light's getting shitty. Okay, so I didn't want an IV or a hep lock because I didn't want, well, I'll go into the details if you guys want me to in the next one, but I didn't want an IV. I wanted free use of water and food. I just wanted one cervical check, which is her checking me when I came in to see how dilated I was. I wanted to move freely throughout my labor. Intermediate use of fetal monitor. So I didn't want to be strapped to anything. So anything, like even the heart monitor for the baby, like I didn't want to be strapped to that, which it all worked out because since I waited so long, since I labored at home, I didn't really, like, it all happened so fast. I got there and I was ready to push. So really there was no time for them to like try to talk me out of my birth plan, right? Respectfully declining any active coaching. So I didn't want them to be counting for me or telling me to push. Like, I didn't want any of that. I didn't want a episiotomy. Ugh. I wanted to tear, if I was gonna tear, I wanted to tear naturally. I didn't want them to cut me in order if they felt like the baby was gonna be moving because of the, whatever, I'm not gonna go into that right now. I wanted delayed cord clamping, and I wanted Darian to cut the cord, and I wanted immediate, for her to be placed immediately on my chest instead of them taking her and like weighing her or whatever. I just wanted my baby right away. I'm gonna try to speed this up because the light's shitty now. Long story short, I got into the delivery room. I pushed majority of the time standing up, just because, like I said, sitting down was very painful, laying down was very painful, and I felt like my full strength standing up. And Darian was there the entire time. He was the best, ideal. He gave me support to where I can, like, you know, like use my whole strength to like push. Then my delivery nurse politely asked if she can just see if she could see the baby's head, if I can just, the next time one of my contraction ends, if I can just lay down really quick so she can check. So when that happened, I wasn't even laying down all the way. I was like kind of on my side with like one leg up and like holding it, and the baby was, Zariah was already there. So like literally 2 more pushes and the baby was out. The doctor barely made it back in time for me to for him to deliver my baby. And he kind of, that's like, I don't know if I have time for that, but he didn't like my birth plan from the jump. But Darian told him like, you don't have to deliver this baby, you can get someone else to do it, but this is our birth plan. He didn't like it because he was like, I don't deliver standing up or something like that, which is like so ignorant, because I don't even want to get into that. But Darian told him straight up, like, you can leave if you don't want to do this, but Ariel's gonna deliver this baby however Ariel wants to deliver this baby, however she feels comfortable enough to deliver this baby. And so 2 more pushes. Once I came, oh my gosh, excuse me, this is my phone. You can have this toy, this is yours. And so once I like got up there so she could actually check to see if she could see the baby, I just pushed 2 more times and Zariah came out, and she was so perfect. Everything was healthy. She was very healthy. She had like a little minor respiratory issue, but we never had to go to the NICU for it or anything. And now she's 8 months. We're still breastfeeding, strictly breastfeeding. This girl will not take a bottle for the life of me. I mean, I haven't really tried either. Like every once in a while I'll try, so I think like that's why she doesn't really care for the bottle, because she's like, what is this? But we're still breastfeeding, and she's a big girl. Yeah, and she's crawling, and she's so fast, you guys. We thought we had it baby proofed, but we really don't. Yeah, and then you were born. Okay, so that's it. If you, like I said, if you guys have any questions about like my birth plan, I can go more into detail. Just let me know. If you don't care, that's fine too. But if you stayed through this whole video, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Say bye bye. Yeah.